Good morning, everybody. I want us to look at ourselves today in a different way. And from here on in, I want us to think of ourselves each and every moment as being the CEO of our own lives. So you are the chief executive officer of your life. Your life is your business. It is your brand. It is you. It is the truest and most deepest and greatest part of you. So how do we go on this path together from going from mind power to mind wealth? And that mind wealth can create that freedom and happiness that we desire in any form. We look at every decision as a CEO's decision. So every decision you make, your job is to respond to the positive thoughts, to fill your mind up with as much positive energy as possible, because positive equals profits. That's the way I want you to look at it. Negative responses equal losses. Have a great day, everybody. Good morning.
In celebration of my recent one-on-one video with Gary Vee's life coach, please enjoy this video from our vault.
I'm an aspiring chef. I'm in culinary school right now. I'm trying to make a side hustle sharpening knives.
I love this idea. I'm gonna give you a tremendous piece of advice that too many people that are ideological and don't actually play in the game push against, but I believe in it the most. You should go sharpen knives for 5 restaurants for free.
For free, okay.
Yep. Like I spoke for free for the first 13, no, I actually got paid for the first one because that's how it also, for 13 of the first 15 times I ever spoke, I spoke for free, including paying for my flights. It's one thing to do free work, it's another thing to do free work with heavy strategy. When I do free work, I try to think of 2 things. How much exposure is it? Like Tyler will tell you, sitting right here, one of the only times I still do free work is if it's massive exposure. There are 49,000 people in the audience. I'm like, it's still a lot of exposure. You know, like it's live on, you know, it's during the Super, like I'll pay somebody to put me in a Super Bowl commercial, right? Like when I get exposure, or, and that's where I'm at now, for you, when you pick these 5 restaurants, let it be the biggest restaurants in your 30-mile radius. Let it be the kindest. Let it be somebody who has the biggest Instagram following, and maybe like, whether, you know, you never want to give with expectation, but it's okay to ask. You're like, hey, I'd love to sharpen your knives for free. and then like you get in there and the vibes are feeling good. Maybe you're like, hey, listen, like I hope you enjoyed it. Like, wouldn't mind to take a picture for my Instagram, which then makes them say, oh, we'll put you on our Instagram. Like, you can be thoughtful and do it the right way, but if nothing else, if you do it for free for 5 people, you've established that you do it. Word of mouth is a remarkably fascinating thing. Strategic free work is one of the great moves in our society.
The free leads you to the paid. If you have no momentum, no traction, no clients, then start for free. Prove your worth and build momentum. Give them something they can't wait to have again and pay for this time. The goal isn't to do free forever, but the free gives you the thing that you're missing the most, which is momentum in your business. So I'm pre-launching my book right now, Built to Serve, and people who buy the book in pre-order also get access to my private Facebook group where I help people one-on-one every week. And so the guy that I had on last week is a coach. He's a health coach. He wants to help people make transformations to their health because he made a radical shift in his health as well. And I said, great, well, how are you doing right now? Well, I have a couple clients, but I'm still working at a restaurant. I want to be able to leave that so I can focus on this full time. Awesome. If you're a coach, what I need to see you is coaching. I need to see you coaching people. What I'd love to see now is an Instagram Live regular show. And what do you do on your Instagram Live? You bring on people who need help being coached through a health transformation. Because it's one thing to say, I'm a coach and I help people get these results. It's another though, to actually see people change. To have you go live with them one-on-one and help them bust through their limiting beliefs and their mindset and the issues that they're dealing with. And then to come out on the other side, by the end of the call, feeling hope, feeling invigorated, feeling inspired. Because people will watch that and say, man, I want a result like that. They see themselves in the client that you're helping, and they then want it for themselves. Now, you get 2 versions. One will be free people. One will be like, can you do me? I'll take it for free, which is great. Don't say no, don't get discouraged, don't get upset. You want the free because the free gives you the content. And so if they're willing to come on and do live on Instagram with you for free, then you do it. And there'll be other people who say, hey, I love what you're doing. I need a radical transformation in my health as well. But I don't want to be on Instagram. I don't want to make it public. Can I hire you privately? Bingo, right? That's what we're looking for. That's when you start getting paid. The free leads to the paid. Whatever it is that you want to get known for, whatever it is you want to start making money with, show it to me publicly for free. And if other people want it publicly for free as well, then it's a yes, especially at the beginning when you have no momentum and no clients and you're working some job that you hate. Yes, for free, yes. One, you get better at it because the more you do, the better you'll get. And 2, you're building momentum and people start talking about you. And then you get to the people who will see it and say, I want that person. I want to hire that person. And any repeat people, if they want more, they want coaching session number 2, it's paid. Here's how much it costs. The free leads you to the paid. So how can you do it? I'm going to give you a 3-step process that you can follow. Step number 1 is think, who can you help? Who specifically can you help? Like, who are the people that you want to help? So for me, it'd be entrepreneurs. If you are a makeup artist and you're just doing it for yourself, or you have some job that you hate and you have no aspiration of being an entrepreneur, I might be able to help you a little bit, but it's not my core audience. I want to help entrepreneurs. Who are the people specifically that you want to be helping? So in the case of the guy who was in my insiders group, he started off just saying that he was a transformational coach. Okay, great, but that could be anything. Everybody needs a transformation. Everybody, the whole world needs a transformational coach. Who? Because if you can't tell me exactly who it is that you help, then I can't think of who I can refer you to. You're making it too difficult on people. If you serve everybody, then you serve nobody. So who are you helping? He's like, well, I love helping people who need a big transformational change in their health because that was me. Awesome. Now it's more specific. Step number 2 is what specifically will you do? How do you help? Are you gonna coach me through a process? You're gonna meditate with me? You're gonna give me, a product that will help me? What specifically will you do? And so with my friend who was in the group, he was saying that he wants to do coaching calls. He coaches people. They don't have to be face-to-face. It can be anywhere in the world as long as he can see them. Great. So that's specifically what you do. You have your methodology, you have your steps. Makes you seem like an expert and you kind of know what you're doing, right? You create your own methodology. Say, here is how I can help people get a result from the problem that they're coming in with. And then step number 3 is think, how can you make it public? You need them to get a result. You need this specific person with this problem to come in. You're gonna help them. You're gonna help them get a result. And I wanna see them get a result. And then how can you make it public so that other people can see it too? So that it's not just you talking about how you had this great result, but it's them in a public forum. So I can, if I see them getting a result, I'm gonna think, I'm just like that person too. I wanna contact you and hire you and bring you on board my team because I want, for me, what you just did to that person. So who can you help? What specifically can you do? And then how can you make it public? Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, question of the day, I wanna know who are 10 people that you're gonna reach out to today to volunteer to do free work for. And if you like this video and you promise to take some action after watching it, we don't just watch videos anymore, we do work after it. Give me a hashtag believe in the comments to make that commitment to yourself that you're gonna do something.
I built the first version of Facebook because it's something that my friends and I wanted to use at Harvard, a directory and a way to connect with the other people around us. And I didn't think at all that it was going to be a company. I remember very specifically the night that we launched the first version. I went out to get pizza with a couple of my friends who now work here, and I remember really clearly we were talking about how one day we thought that someone was going to build a community like this for the world, and that would be some company, but it clearly wasn't going to be us. I mean, it wasn't even.
It didn't even occur.
Yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't even an option that we considered that it might be us. I mean, we just weren't focused on building a company back then. We were just building something that we thought would be useful at our school. With Facebook, there was just such, people loved it, right? And had such an intensity of using it. I think within a couple of weeks, 2/3 of students at Harvard were using it. And all these other students at MIT and other local universities were writing in asking us if we could open up Facebook at their school. So we kind of just followed that, right? And again, I didn't set out, and my roommates didn't set out to build a service that we were going to turn into a company, but we just kind of followed what people wanted, and that led us to expand it to all these other schools and eventually beyond schools, and to at some point. Once we'd hired a bunch of people, we decided to turn it into a company and go for this mission of connecting the world. The best companies that get built are things that are trying to drive some kind of social change, even if it's just local in one place. More than starting out because you want to make a bunch of money or have a lot of people working for you or build some company in some way. So, I always think that this is kind of a perverse thing about Silicon Valley in a way, which is that people decide often that they want to start a company before they even decide what they want to do. And that just feels really backwards to me. And, for anyone who's had the experience of actually building a company, that you go through some really hard things along the way. And I think part of what gets you through that is believing in what you're doing and knowing that what you're doing is really delivering a lot of value for people. And that's, I think, how the best companies end up getting made.
The reason that I think my stuff has grown, and I'm not trying to be braggadocious in this regard, my content's good. Like, my content is stuff that can really affect you and change you. I'm not going to tell you 1,100 times to get you money. I'm not going to tell you to be kind 1,100 times and just repeat myself, or binary and all this stuff. The guys just keep repeating themselves. And it's mindless information. I don't even understand how they have followings, to be honest with you. It's like, I've heard you say this same thing 2,000 different times, whereas I'm trying to keep my content fresh, relevant, inspirational, but also strategic. And that's not knocking people. It's just, I think you do this very well. Like, if you're going to be in this space, really bring value to people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If people are going to follow you, give them value and inspiration for the privilege of them following you. So I feel an obligation to try to create stuff daily when I can to move someone's life forward.
Evan, thank you so much for having a couple seconds and being able to tell the Believe Nation a little bit about Empathy Wines. It means a lot to me that you would take this valuable real estate and time on your channel to give me some love. It means a lot. It's just good karma points, and so you're awesome. Thank you. Believe Nation, if you're into wine at all, go to empathywines.com. My whole career's work was poured into producing a wine that rivaled $40 to $60 wine for 20 bucks a bottle. I'm just super excited about this subscription-based wine business. You can order 3, 6, or 12 bottles in subscription form, rosé, white, red. If you search on Instagram or Twitter, you will be blown away. People are literally like, I don't even like Gary Vee, but the wine's good. Super proud of the effort. Thanks, Evan, for the time. Wishing you guys all happy and healthy.
If you want to see my one-on-one with Gary Vee's life coach where she breaks me down, check the video on my main channel right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
80% of a human being's inner dialogue is negative. One of the things that human beings sucks at, besides dreaming, is the ability to keep promises.
Hi again, everyone. We are on the final page of Satguru's wisdom and sharing his top 10 rules for success. And my favorite one, or one of my favorites, is number 10, which is always do your best. It's really simple. You hear it all the time, either from our parents, from family members, friends, teachers. Always do your best. It is not easy to do because in a moment when we've made a mistake, we tend to dwell on the fact that we experienced a sense of loss. Let's free ourselves from that by falling in love with the process of what we're trying to create. We're trying to create our best self. That is the business that is our responsibility. It's the business of living. So as we go on this path from going from mind power to mind wealth, let's be freed by the fact that we're all going to make lots of mistakes. But if we're doing our best each and every moment to learn from every decision, then we're already there. We're in that process. Have a great day, everybody.
You've got to become an owner, not just a consumer. You've got to become an investor. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, but you have to take the time to educate yourself, set up an asset allocation, and then automate it so you don't have to think about it anymore, so that as the years go by, that simple habit will make you free. There's a man named Theodore Johnson who worked for UPS. I always use an example because most people say, I don't have any money, my business is eating every penny. And this man never made more than $14,000 in a year, worked for UPS as a driver. When he retired, he was worth $71 million. Now, how do you do that on 14 grand a year? A friend of his came to him and said, you've got to invest. He said, I have no money to invest. He goes, if the government came in and put a 20% tax on you, you'd scream, you'd yell, and you'd pay it, right? Because you have to. We're gonna put a wealth tax on you for you, and the money's all gonna go to your future self. And that 20% he did, just reinvested over time, built to $70 million. People have no clue the power of compounding. That's the habit that's gonna make the difference in your business life and your personal life, and it's what'll create lasting wealth.
Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel is created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and learn some of the habits of millionaires. Enjoy. Habit number 2, stop spending money on junk with Grant Cardone.
You're spending money on junk when you don't need it. Look at my little things, man. I know guys walking around with $500 and $600 headphones, and I got my little freebies that came with my phone. Why? What's the difference? You know why? Because I want to bank cash, man. I need money. I need emergency funds. I need to treat money like it's sacred. Truth is, most people don't like money. I know they don't like money. You know how I know they don't like money? Do you like money? No, I don't think you do. You know why I don't think you do? Because as soon as you get some, you get rid of it. You buy with it. While you're buying stuff, you know what I'm doing? I'm banking cash. I don't need to spend a lot of money. I don't waste money. The money that I save is sacred. It's there to protect me and my future. It's not there to buy junk and stuff that I don't need, that I just wanted for a second, don't want tomorrow, but that I'm gonna need that money later for problems or opportunities. Look, you need to sit down with your spouse and you guys get on the same page. Dude, what are you going to work for every day? I don't go to work to work. I hate that saying. I don't want Tony going to work to work. I don't want anybody in my organization going to work to work. I want you to go to work to prosper, go to work for freedom. This is what wealthy people do different than everybody else. Wealthy people work for freedom. They're working not for comfort items, not for a weekend. They're working for freedom, man. Bank your dough. And if you don't have any leftover money, then make more dough. Make some cake and then push it away and then go back out in the marketplace and make some more cake for you and your family.
Habit number 3, chase what energizes you with Mel Robbins.
Chase what energizes you. Everyone
Okay.
talks about passion, legacy, purpose,
Yeah,
la, la, la,
yeah.
la, la, la. The one word to pay attention to is energy.
I love that.
That's it. Let's simplify this.
Okay.
So whatever energizes you, naturally expands you, feels like possibility, is exciting to do. It may be scary, that doesn't matter. It has to do with how it makes you feel.
Right.
When you were in your 20s, money made you feel good. It expanded you. It energized you. Chasing the money, that was the game. That was your passion. That was your There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And I particularly want to say that to the women that are watching.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Because it is socialized into women not to chase success like that, not to go after the money. And so if what energizes you is amassing wealth, go for it. But what and the reason why I say that is because people talk about the word passion or purpose.
Right.
And the truth is, it's not a person, place, or a thing. It's not. It is the feeling of being expanded and energized.
Right.
If you're pursuing your passion, it means that you wake up every day and are energized. So instead of trying to think, what's my purpose? What's my passion? What's my purpose? What's my passion? I don't know.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking like that, I want you instead to ask yourself, what could I do today that would energize me? What energizes me? If it's making money, figure out how to make money.
Right.
If it is making a difference, figure out how to make a difference. It could be in any single shape or form. But if it energizes you, that's what you need to follow.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Habit number 4, architect your world-class life with Robin Sharma.
In a world of superficiality, really build in some granularity. That's a gargantuan competitive advantage. In a world with a lot of people, where a lot of business people, a lot of leaders, a lot of your friends, what needs to happen next year for this to be the best year of your professional life, your personal life, your financial life, your physical life, your spiritual life, your love life? I don't know. Most people spend a lot more time on their summer vacations, a lot more time flipping through the social media versus architecting a world-class life. You want to be one of those rare air few, you know my brain tattoo, to have the results only 5% of the population have. You've got to be willing to do what 95% of the population are unwilling to do. And one of those things, don't be superficial. Don't live a superficial life. Don't have a superficial game plan. Fireproof yourself against superficiality and really understand this concept I've been teaching called granularity. When I work with the NBA athletes who come into my rooms at my events, when I work with the titans, the billionaires, the celebrity CEOs you read about, these people are anything but superficial. They are granular. And you can call them obsessed, you can call them obsessive, you can call them weird, freaks, kooks, misfits. So what? Call them what you want. That's just a label. I'm reporting on reality. These are people who will say, let me show you my battle plan for the next 80 days and the next 5 years. And they will walk you through the reverse sequencing I'm sharing with you.
Habit number 5, step out of your comfort zone with Brian Tracy.
Rich people step outside their comfort zone. Whatever your self-concept, your habit of thinking with regard to money or any other area of performance will become your comfort zone. Your comfort zone then becomes your greatest single obstacle to improve performance. Once you get into a comfort zone in any area, you will strive, and struggle unconsciously to remain in that comfort zone, even though it may be vastly below what you are truly capable of achieving in that area, and especially what you are truly capable of earning. The key to achieving your full potential and to develop the same habits of rich people is for you to raise your self-concept through positive thinking patterns. It's for you to develop new patterns and habits of positive thinking about what is possible for you. The way that you accomplish vastly more on the outside is by changing your thoughts and feelings about your potential in that area on the inside.
And habit number 6, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is seek clarity with Brendan Burchard.
High performers seek clarity more often than their peers. And what that means for them is every situation they go into, they're seeking clarity and setting intention. And it's not like once in a while, they're doing it way more often. It's like, I've been blessed to work with Oprah Winfrey. When she has a meeting, at the start of every meeting, she asks, what's our intention here? What's the intention of this meeting? Not what's the agenda, what do I do? What's the intention? That's every meeting. So she's seeking clarity at the beginning of every meeting. That's why she's so amazing, right? If you think about her whole career, she was always trying to have people seek clarity on who they were so they could be themselves. That's what high performers are doing. They just do it more often. They seek clarity before they shoot that video, before they have the podcast interview. But specifically, we found 3 practices help you get better at seeking clarity. Number 1, they are seeking clarity in what we call the future 4. So you've probably heard that successful people are more future-minded. It's true. And specifically what they're looking at, if you talk to a high performer, they're more clear about who do I want to be in this upcoming situation. And by the way, it's not about who I am. It's about who do I want to be. They're more future-oriented. They're more intentional about who they want to be in social situations. So it's like, I want to have this type of interaction with Louis today. That's intentional. They're more clear about what skills they need to develop to reach their next level of success.
Right.
Here's how you really know an underperformer. Open up their calendar and look for any evidence that they have planned their own curriculum for greatness. If they don't have classes or courses, if they're not actively skill building, there's no chance of high performance. I mean, maybe they can dumb luck into it for initial success, but high performance is long-term success. You got to be building your skill sets.
Constantly growing, constantly learning, constantly growing.
Being aware of it. And the last of the future 4 is, I know the service I want to provide in the future. Talk to any high performers I'm sure you've interviewed. They kind of know the service and the difference they want to make. Maybe not precisely, but they're asking the question. So that's some of what we know. They seek clarity. And that's kind of the first practice, is asking questions in those areas. And the other 2 real fast is, when you're seeking clarity, they're more clear about the feeling they want to have. Like an Olympic sprinter who's won gold is more likely to have said before he went or she went on the track, how do I want to feel out there? Not like just the result, like when the foot's in the block and I'm arms down, like what do I want to feel? Like they're very aware of the feeling they're trying to get.
Yeah, I don't want to feel nervous and stressed. I want to feel calm and clear and smooth. And
and they're doing that self-talk, which is seeking clarity. And then the last one, which is really important, they're clear about what's meaningful to them now and what might be different in the future, which is something I didn't know until we did a lot of the interviews or the conversations. Is a lot of people kind of know what I like now. They know what their passion is. But it's like, what's going to be meaningful to you later, like in 5 years? They've thought about that. I would say they've done the work. We all have to decide who we are and what we want and how to get it at this stage of our life. And when we don't know that, reaching high performance can be really hard.
Yeah. It's all about clear vision for me. It's the first chapter in my book is the greatest leaders in the world have a clear vision.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's it. And they got that vision by seeking clarity.
Yes.
That was the habit that gave them the vision. They were consistently seeking, like, they asked themselves more questions.
With your heart in your business and your head in your wallet. Your heart in your business, the business that you do, what you're running has to feed you, has to feel purposeful, has to feel like you matter, you mean something, it's having an impact, you're touching lives, you're changing the world, right? Like, You need that passion to drive your business forward. Otherwise, you're going to quit. But your head in your wallet so that you have money coming in, so that you have backup plans, so that you can survive and still feed yourself and your family and pay the internet and, and everything else. Your head is in your wallet and your heart is in your business. I think a lot of times people start and they're already trying to diversify. You know, you're already trying to take on opportunities that you just see as a hot market opportunity for this year. You're trying to take on a million things because you think one of those are bound to pay off. If you don't have your heart in the thing that you're doing, you're never going to win. It's the number one rule of success. You have to love the thing that you're doing. From every entrepreneur that I followed and looked up to and researched and profiled and created videos on, the number one rule for success is you have to love the process of the thing that you're doing. But you have to bring your head with you. You know, you have to bring your head with you to make smart decisions, to actually have money left over. Making money is really important. Whether you're an entrepreneur or not, making money becomes really important. It's not number one, but it's got to be in your top 5. I'm right now going through a process of figuring out what to do with my financial situation. We've grown, you know, we're at 37 people, we're building, and it's great. And historically, I've just done my one company, but now I'm in the process of creating a holding company, creating an investment company, and talking to different people around life insurance, investments, real estate. And what I keep telling them is my heart is in my business and my head is in my wallet, just to help me make the right strategic decision. With money going out, I don't care as long as it's the best decision. Like, show me how I'm gonna make money and not pay taxes, right? Or just pay my fair share of taxes, pay what I'm required to pay, right? I am ultra safe. I do not want calls from the government. I want backup plans upon backup plans for my money and where I'm investing it. But then my heart is in my business. And I'm gonna keep coming up with new, innovative, crazy ideas of things that I can do inside my company. At the very beginning, I had no money. It was all heart, all just trying to get something off the ground. And I think people often will prematurely diversify. Will prematurely find 18 different sources of income, where the smart thing to do at the beginning is probably just pick one. Like, pick the one that will actually pay you the fastest. That's still inside of your mission, right? That's still inside of the vision you want to create for yourself. Pick the one that will pay you the fastest, that then allows other things to happen. When I'm talking to an entrepreneur and I ask them, you know, what's the vision that you got for yourself? Where do you want to go? What are you trying to create? What's the positive ripple you want to have on the world, right? What is that? They tell me their big plan and big goals and big dreams. Look amazing. Okay, well, what are you going to do tomorrow? Like, how do we start funding this? Because they're still at a job, or they just started and they're just making ends meet. And I remember being that person. And being too ashamed and embarrassed to ask for help. I'm making $300 a month. Like, that was me. I get it. Okay, so what are you going to do to start building that? And that's where people struggle. That's where people fall down. It's like, what are the next steps? You could see the end picture and the goal and the vision that you've got for yourself and what you want to make, but from where you are now to where you're going to be, it just feels too big, too slow, too impossible, needing venture capital funding, needing a whole ton of support. It's like, no, you just need to figure out what's the next step that will start to pay you for what you're doing. This is where people often don't want to have the conversation because they just want to do everything for free. Like, but that's great, but you have to make money doing this, so that you can make this your full-time thing, so you can hire a team, so you can expand, so you can have a bigger reach, so you can have a much bigger impact, so you can actually create the world that you want to create. Again, money's not number one, but you have to figure out a way to make money. So inside of your big dream, what is the next step that you have to take that's going to start to get you paid? And often it's coaching. Often it's selling your time, right? Often it's taking the expertise that you have inside you. You solved the problem for yourself. Now you're going to help other people do it, and you're going to get paid to do it.
There's a little bit of this cultural bias
Good morning, Believe Nation and Determination. Yesterday, we looked at you as being the CEO of your life, making decisions that will propel you towards your infinite mind wealth. Today, I want us to look at ourselves as player one in the ultimate game, the mind game. And how do we win the mind game? Because once we do, we can have anything we can ever dream of or desire. We have to realize we are a magnet. So you're in this game today and each and every day, you are a magnet. And you have the two greatest weapons. You have believe, you have determination. Those two things are weapons that you use to attract all positive things. So all positive thoughts. You do this over and over in the game, and eventually you will suffocate all the negative thought space that's in your mind and win the mind game. Have a great day, everybody.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Jeff Bezos, and my take on his top 50 rules of success. Enjoy.
I would definitely advise a small startup company to be as narrow and as focused as is possible to be. If you look at the original Amazon business plan, there was no hint of anything other than books in it, and it was not on my radar. I was thinking I wanted to build an online bookstore. That was it. And it worked way better than I thought it would, and we launched music, and that worked better than I thought it would, and we launched videos. I think it's so long ago I can really remember. I think it was actually VHS tapes. Is that possible? And that worked better than we thought it would. And then I sent email to customers. So I picked about 1,000 customers, and I said, besides the things we sell today, books, music, and video, what would you like to see us sell? And the list came back incredibly long tail. It was almost like whatever was on their mind at the moment. It was like, I wish you sold windshield wipers for my car. And I was like, really? Windshield wipers? That wasn't done in the business plan, but that's an interesting idea. And so today, we basically, if you're buying your windshield wipers anywhere else, you're probably getting ripped off. So it's been, kind of one foot in front of the other. One of the key things about lean, defect reduction, being efficient, not letting defects travel downstream in any process. If you're going to eliminate waste, or as the Japanese call it, muda, you have to have information. And the data center has historically been an information-free zone as far as application developers are concerned. You would write code, and you have no idea how it's consuming resources. You're too insulated because you're in a pool of resources, and you can't meter it. One of the biggest, still unappreciated benefits of AWS is that application developers get a real sense of which inner loop is driving all the cost. Yeah. And that's a big deal. So that's just starting to, that's one of the ways that this approach to infrastructure dramatically reduces costs. In our data center, in our fulfillment centers and in our customer service centers, we have, we're always seeking to keep defects from moving downstream. So this is a principle that was probably best applied in the first best applied by Toyota. And they had this idea of what they call the andon cord, which basically any factory worker could pull the cord and stop the whole automobile manufacturing line. And for old school auto manufacturing companies, that was considered crazy, absolutely insane. In fact, the opposite principle was typically at work, which is you did everything possible to keep that line running. And here Toyota flipped that on its head, and they said, look, anytime there's a defect, no matter how small, we want you to pull the cord and stop the whole line. And stopping things, if you do that in a line that has a lot of defects, initially you get a lot of andon cord pulls and it's very expensive. But over time, if you use that approach, you eliminate the defects closer and closer to the source. And the people who are fans of lean manufacturing and these kinds of techniques take almost as an article of faith, although there's a lot of evidence to support this in very diverse industries, that the further a defect travels downstream, the more expensive it becomes to fix. And so you want to stop those things. You don't want them to repeat and happen over and over. Invention is not disruptive. Only customer adoption is disruptive. At Amazon, we've invented a lot of things that customers did not care about at all. And believe me, they were not disruptive to anyone. So it's only when customers like the new way that anything becomes disruptive. And so really it's just saying that you want to, if somebody comes to you with a business plan that they claim is disruptive, you should ask them to explain it to you in simpler language. And the simpler language is, why are customers going to adopt this? Why are they going to like it? Why is it better than the traditional way? Just find something that you're passionate about. I would definitely, on the career advice side, the most important thing about your first job out of school is to pick a place where you think where your learning per unit time is going to be very high. You can optimize for a bunch of variables, and it can get very confusing. Where is the location? What's the salary going to be? And all those things are worth considering. They're all important. But make sure you pull back after you've done your analysis and say, am I also picking the place that I believe my learning per unit time is going to be the fastest? And you learn much more from a best practices company than you do. You learn no matter where you go. So if you go work for somebody and you're like, God, these people are all crazy. This is insane. You'll learn a lot of negative lessons that you can use later, and you can not do those things. But that process of elimination method takes a long time. So it's better to try and find a place that has really high hiring standards, some of the basics especially, a place that's trying to recruit only A's hire A's, and B's hire C's, and C's hire D's. So you've got to hire only A's. And you need to pick a company that's doing those kinds of fundamental practices well, because then you'll learn so much. It'll set you up to do other things. So I would say that's probably the best career advice I give.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
It's definitely about leaning into the future. And so when you look at the kinds of things that you want to be able to do with your voice, it changes for those of you who have used an Echo. The fact that it's always on, that you never have to charge it, it's always sitting there ready in your kitchen or your bedroom or wherever you put it. The fact that you can talk to it in a natural way removes a lot of barriers, a lot of friction, a lot of little tiny pieces of friction to be able to do things, to ask what the weather is. It's easier than taking your phone out of your pocket. And what people have found over and over again is that by removing the tiniest amounts of friction from ordinary activities, really people appreciate that, and it improves customers' lives. Sometimes we expand into new areas in 2 ways. One is kind of from a customer need. We will work from a customer need to the skills that we need. And the other one is skills forward, from a skill set we have to a new set of customers. So Kindle is an example of a customer need, and so we don't have any hardware skills. We've been doing this for 10 years now, but if you go back in time 10 years, we had no hardware team. We had to hire somebody to lead our hardware group, and then build a hardware team and build some institutional competence at it, and so on. that's a customer need backwards approach. And then skills forward, a great example of that is Amazon Web Services. We had the skills to do AWS. We had probably more distributed computing expertise than anybody else in the world because of the transactions. Transaction systems are so complicated and hard to build, and we had a service-oriented architecture of great complexity, probably before anybody else. And so we could kind of, because we were doing that, we could kind of see the future a little bit, and decided to build AWS, which has turned into, a huge business in its own right. And that is, if you were always, business is very situational. And so rules of thumb are good, but they have to be applied to the right situation. So sometimes the old maxim that you should stick to the knitting is correct, but sometimes the adage that you should stick to the knitting is wrong. And a senior leader's job is to figure out in which situation are you. There are a few things I think if you want to be an innovative company that you have to do. First of all, I think innovation is a point of view. You have to actually select people that are part of the company who want to innovate and explore. Being a pioneering company and an explorer company isn't for everybody. Some people wake up in the morning and they get their energy, the thing they think about in the shower is they start their annual planning process, or however you want to think about it, with who are the 3 companies that we're going to kill this year. That's the conqueror mentality. And it's a competitor-focused mentality instead of a customer-focused mentality. And there's nothing, that mentality can succeed, by the way. So I'm not claiming, the pioneering explorer approach is the only effective one. But when you attract people who have the DNA of pioneers and the DNA of explorers, you build a company of like-minded people who want to invent. And that's what they think about when they get up in the morning. How are we going to work backwards from customers and build a great service or a great product? That's a key element to invention. And that part is fun, by the way. So if you're the right kind of person and you like to invent, and you like change, everything you see as you move about the world, you think how it could be improved, that's just fun. And we at Amazon, we've over the last 18 plus years attracted a bunch of people like that, and we have a ton of fun doing it. We are, can we be, let's take China and India very separately. So we are winning in India very, very well. We have an amazing leader there, a guy named Amit, who has been at Amazon for 15 years, and here in the US, they moved back to India 4 or 5 years ago to start Amazon India, and that team is doing well. They have passed Flipkart. They are the leader in India now. So that is similar to Japan, Germany, the UK, France. Those countries are very. In China, the leader is JD, and we are totally adapting our strategy in China. We cannot run our normal playbook in China. It has to be specialized and different. So we're doing that. I think we have always had, and it's been from the very, very beginning, you can go back and read our 1997 shareholder letter, and the core of the company is customer obsession as opposed to competitor obsession. And that works really well for us. I think that the advantage of being customer focused is that customers are always dissatisfied. They always want more. And so they pull you along. If you're trying to serve them, they pull you along. Whereas if you're competitor obsessed, if you're the leader, you can kind of look around and you see everybody running behind you. Maybe you slow down a little. And customers are always pulling you. So I think if you want to be pioneering, if you want to be inventive, if you want a culture that is experimental, then you want to be customer obsessed rather than competitor obsessed. Any young person, even before they start their career, is to really think about their choices. Because I find young people, and when I was young, I made this mistake too. You can get very fixed on your gifts. So everybody has gifts. You have gifts and you have things that you didn't get gifted. Maybe you're extremely beautiful. Maybe you're extremely good at mathematics. There are a lot of things that you can be given. But those things can confuse you because they're not the things that construct your life. It's your choices that construct your life, not your gifts. You can celebrate your gifts. Be proud of them. Be happy of them. Actually, don't be proud of them. Be celebratory of them. But you can't be proud because they're gifts. They were given to you. You didn't earn them. You can only be proud of the things you earn. And so as I got older, I started to realize I wasn't proud of my gifts. I was always good at school. School was always easy for me. And I was always proud that I was a great student. I got A's in all my classes. I was good at math, all of that. And I thought that's who I was. But it's not true. Those are the things that are gifts. What was hard for me is deciding to work hard, deciding to use my gifts in certain ways, to challenge myself, to do things that I didn't think I could do, to put myself in uncomfortable situations. We all I would say to a young person, you can choose a life of ease and comfort, or you can choose a life of service and adventure. Which one of those, when you're 90 years old, are you going to be more proud of?
I believe that the primary success factor for Amazon.com has been an obsession over the customer and a focus on customer service. This is clearly important in any business, but especially important online. And the reason for this is that word of mouth is incredibly powerful online. If you make a customer unhappy on the internet, they won't tell 5 friends. They will tell 5,000 friends on Usenet news groups and listservs and so on. Likewise, of course, if you can make a customer happy by meeting or exceeding their expectations, they can also tell 5,000 people and therefore, be evangelists for you. They can use the internet as a megaphone. So it's very important to do the things that you actually are going to claim to do. And what this means basically is the balance of power has shifted away from the merchant and toward the consumer, which is a great thing, I think, for everybody involved. It's even great for the merchant as long as the merchant realizes it.
I was in all the senior people at Amazon do 2 days of customer service training every other year. And several years ago now, I was in one of those customer service training sessions, and I was taking calls from customers. I had an experienced customer service agent with me, listening in, helping me figure out how to use the tools, keeping me out of trouble, making sure that I did a good job for the customer. And the customer, this particular call that I got, the customer, as soon as we pulled up her order, the experienced customer service agent leaned over to me and whispered in my ear and said, she's going to want to return that table. She had purchased a piece of furniture, a table. So I'm talking to the customer, to the customer, and the customer says, I need to return this table. And it turned out that the top of the table was scratched. It was packaged poorly. And then, so we finished up and we handled the return and got all that done. And I said to the agent, how did you know that the customer was going to return that table? She said, oh, that table always gets returned. And so, what does that mean? That means that, it's an anecdote, but if you systematize that and kind of pull back, it means that there's no communication flowing from these people who are talking to the customers every day back to our fulfillment centers where the actual shipping and packaging is going on. And it's very difficult to get that communication to happen. It can't just happen easily. So we built a kind of, inspired by the idea of an end-on cord, where any customer service agent can pull a product off of the Amazon website if they think that there's a problem. And then of course having pulled that product off, that sets in place a whole series of processes that go back, but we're not going to ship the same table to the same customer over and over.
Do you usually have a plan B?
I don't have plan Bs. I actually don't like plan Bs. I find plan Bs
They defocus you from plan A. Plan B should always be make plan A work. One of the things about maintaining, first of all, it's somewhat about the selection of the people. So if you want to have a creative culture, when I interview people, I ask them to give me an example of something they've invented. And I always point out it doesn't have to be something that you actually took to the patent office, but something, it could be a metric that you invented and followed carefully. It could be a business process that you invented. But how do you go about, what's your method for? So you want to select people who like to invent their way out of boxes. And don't necessarily immediately go to either or. We can do A or B. And you know, the right question is, how can we do A and B? What invention do we need to be able to do both? So that's a lot about selection of people. And the great thing about corporate cultures is they're very self-reinforcing. So this could, I mean, somebody who comes to Amazon and doesn't like pioneering, doesn't like exploring, doesn't like going down blind alleys that oftentimes turn out to be dead ends, they'll leave. You know, they're self-selecting. And so we have, over the last 18 years, collected a bunch of people who really enjoy this kind of pioneering approach. Once you are looking at the odds in a realistic way, it's very important for entrepreneurs to be realistic. And so if you believe on that first day while you're writing the business plan that there's a 70% chance that the whole thing will fail, and you know, then that kind of relieves the pressure of self-doubt. I mean, it's sort of like, I don't have any doubt about whether we're going to fail. That's the likely outcome. And it just is. And to pretend that it's not will lead you to do strange and, you know, unnatural things. So we, you know, and what you do with those early investment dollars, you know, so if you have $300,000 and then you have $1 million, what you do with those early precious capital resources is you go about systematically trying to eliminate risk. So you pick whatever you think the biggest problems are, and you try to eliminate them one at a time. And that's how small companies get a little bit bigger, and then a little bit bigger, and a little bit bigger, until finally, at a certain stage, you reach a transition where where the company has more control over its future destiny. You know, when a company is very tiny, it needs a tremendous amount of not only hard work, but as we talked about earlier, luck. As a company gets bigger, it starts to become a little more stable, where if at a certain point in time, the company has a much bigger influence over its future outcome. It needs a lot less luck, and instead it needs the hard work. And at that point, there's a little bit more pressure, because then if you fail, you have nobody to blame but yourself. The heart of entrepreneurship in some ways is about risk-taking, but I think that many people misperceive what good entrepreneurs do. Good entrepreneurs don't like risk. They seek to reduce risk. So they are, you kind of, starting a company is already risky, and then you systematically eliminate risk step by step in those early days until you can get a company. You need a lot of, believe me, you need a lot of luck in all endeavors in life. And certainly Amazon has had, planetary alignment of the highest order. We're, lots of luck in our history. But you also need to systematically try to identify risks. And then as the company gets bigger and more robust, you can start taking risks again. But in those early days, a lot of it is about, okay, we have a good idea. How do we reduce risk? I like time. I'm not efficient with my time. Because efficiency, there's an embedded assumption when you're being efficient. And the embedded assumption is that you know where you're going. And I like to wander, because it's wandering that allows you to invent and to explore and to follow your curiosity. But wandering is very time consuming. And so if I could have one more thing, it would just be more time. It's hard to have conviction about whether something will work. And the only thing that I can offer, every once in a while, you get a crisp moment of clarity where you just know some things are going to work if you are persistent enough. And I think you can only do that if you start with the customer and work backwards. I don't think you can build that kind of
clarity on what your competitors are doing or what kinds of technologies are available in the marketplace. That kind of clarity can only come from a deep understanding of customer needs. And the good thing about customer needs is they change slowly in time, so you can count on them. I know for a fact that 10 years from now, Amazon's customers will still want low prices. I know for a fact that Amazon's customers 10 years from now will still want fast delivery. They'll still want vast selection. And there's no chance that 10 years from now, somebody will come to me and say, Jeff, I love Amazon. I just wish you delivered a little more slowly. So because those customer needs are so foundational, sometimes around those things you can get real clarity. And then you can invest and you can know that your investments will pay dividends for customers over time.
Whenever you empower people with new tools, you get unexpected and beautiful results. And we're seeing that. I think we're still in the early innings of seeing the kinds of change that AWS can bring to a whole group of entrepreneurs, including entrepreneurs inside companies.
Is there a job, if it wasn't Amazon, if it wasn't business related, is there something else? You started all over again at this age and stage, and you took on a different profession. Would there be one that is close to your heart?
I would be very curious today, if I were a young college student today, I would be very interested in biotechnology. I think biotechnology is just a fascinating arena that probably in the next 10 or 20 years is going to be a golden age of biotech. One of the golden ages that's happening right now before our eyes is also artificial intelligence and machine learning. So that's another arena that I would be very interested in. My backup career is I'm a very good bartender. So if all else fails, you'll see me at the local bar and I'll be making your drinks slowly, but they'll be good. Do something you're very passionate about, and don't try to chase what is kind of the hot passion of the day. I think we actually saw this. I think you see it all over the place in many different contexts, but I think we saw it in the internet world quite a bit, where at the sort of peak of the sort of internet mania in, say, 1999, you found people who were very passionate about something. They kind of left that job and decided, I'm going to do something in the internet, because it's it was almost like the 1849 gold rush in a way. I mean, you find that people, if you go back and study the history of the 1849 gold rush, you find that at that time everybody who was within shouting distance of California was, they might have been a doctor, but they quit being a doctor and they started panning for gold. And that almost never works. And even if it does work, according to some metric, financial success or whatever it might be, I suspect it leaves you ultimately unsatisfied. So you really need to be very clear with yourself. And I think one of the best ways to do that is this notion of projecting yourself forward to age 80, looking back on your life and trying to make sure you've minimized the number of regrets you have. That works for career decisions. It works for family decisions. Do you want? I have a 14-month-old son, and it's very easy for me to, if I think about myself when I'm 80, I know I want to watch that little guy grow up. And so I don't want to be 80 and think, shoot, I missed that whole thing and I don't have the kind of relationship with my son that I wished I had, and so on and so on.
One of the great paradoxes of inventing at a high level is that you need to be an expert in your domain area and you need to have a beginner's mind. You absolutely need both of those things. The world is too complex to actually just be a beginner. So, I can't, no matter how inventive I am, I can't go invent a new kind of brain surgery. You have to be a neurosurgeon. You have to already know all there is to know about brain surgery and then take it to the next level. The problem is, for many people, by the time they become true experts, they've lost that ability to see things in a fresh way. They've lost the beginner's mind. And so that's another thing. You always need to be stepping back and saying, if I'm an expert in launch vehicles or whatever it is, I need to step back and say, okay,
if I were looking at this for the first time, what would I be seeing and noticing? These are just some of the things you need to do to be innovative. I am building, along with a team of people, including the father of the 10,000-year clock, a guy named Danny Hillis, in a mountain in West Texas, a very large clock designed to last 10,000 years. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Moments ago, he seemed sane. But the clock is a symbol for long-term thinking. And if we can build a clock, and we think we can, there's a lot of engineering that goes into this clock. It's exceedingly complicated, and we don't have enough time to talk about the cam that tracks the motion of the Earth's orbit as it deviates over the course of 10,000 years, and so on and so on. There's a lot of interesting stuff if you want to keep time for 10,000 years. But the symbol is important for a couple of reasons. One, if we think long term, and here I'm thinking, when I say we, I mean we humans. If we think long term, we can accomplish things that we couldn't otherwise accomplish. So if I came up to you, Werner, and I said, look, I want you to solve world hunger in 5 years. You would rightly decline the challenge. But if I said, Werner, I want you to solve world hunger in 100 years, now that's more interesting. Because it's, then you start to first create the conditions under which such change could occur. And all we've done there is change the time horizon. We didn't change the challenge, we changed the time horizon. So time horizons matter. They matter a lot. And the other thing I would point out is that we humans are getting awfully sophisticated in technological ways and have a lot of potential to be very dangerous to ourselves. And it seems to me we are, as a species, going to have to start thinking longer term. And so this is a symbol. I think symbols can be very powerful. The clock has 5 anniversary chambers. These are big. This is all carved out inside of a mountain, and in the remote, it's kind of like you have to take a pilgrimage to get there. And when it's finally done, we'll, let people come and tour the clock. But it has 5 anniversary chambers. The first one is a room that kind of like the cuckoo on a clock, and it shows this animation once a year. The second chamber does its animation once every 10 years. The third chamber once every 100 years. The fourth chamber once every 1,000 years. And the 5th anniversary chamber just once at the end of the 10,000 years. And we're only planning to build the animations for the 1st and 2nd chambers. We figure our future generations can worry about the 3rd, 4th, and 5th chambers. I laugh a lot. So it is, there are, I think stress, you can be, I think one of the things that's very important to note about stress is that stress primarily comes from not taking action over something that you can have some control over. So if I find that some particular thing is causing me to have stress, that's a warning flag for me. What it means is there's something that I haven't completely identified, perhaps in my conscious mind, that is bothering me, and I haven't yet taken any action on it. I find as soon as I identify it and make the first phone call or send off the first email message or whatever it is that we're going to do to start to address that situation, even if it's not solved, the mere fact that we're addressing it dramatically reduces any stress that might come from it. So stress comes from ignoring things that you shouldn't be ignoring, I think in large part. So stress doesn't come, people get stress wrong all the time, in my opinion. Stress doesn't come from hard work, for example. You can be working incredibly hard and loving it. And likewise, you can be out of work and incredibly stressed over that. So, and likewise, if you kind of use that as an analogy for what I was just talking about, if you're out of work, but you're going through, a disciplined approach of, a series of job interviews and so on and working to remedy that situation, you're going to be a lot less stressed than if you're just worrying about it and doing nothing.
we got this company just about ready to launch, and we were looking at it and looking at this little tiny fulfillment center. We were here by then in this building. We had a basement fulfillment center. To call it a fulfillment center was very grand. There's a lot of puffery. It was 400 square feet, which is about the size of a one-car garage. And we launched this business, and we're looking at it, and we didn't know if anybody would order from us. We really didn't. And in fact, one of the software engineers looked at this little space, and he said, I can't figure out whether this is incredibly optimistic or hopelessly pathetic. And indeed, we didn't know. We had no idea whether anybody would want to buy things in this way. The business plan called for generating sales very slowly as customers changed their attitudes. The original business plan, which I thought was very optimistic at the time, called for Amazon.com to generate $70 million in sales in the year 2001. We actually generated in excess of $3 billion in sales in the year 2001. And we knew, by the way, that we were really on to something in those first 30 days. In the first 30 days, we got orders from all 50 states and 45 different countries with not a dollar of advertising, just all word of mouth. In the first year, we didn't spend anything on advertising. All of it was word of mouth. And that really forged the company that we were going to focus on customer experience because we saw the power of word of mouth so very, very clearly in those early days. There's something great about word of mouth online, by the way, and feedback from customers, which is that email turns off the politeness gene in the human being. It's wonderful. So people actually tell you what they really think, usually in all caps. So we get lots of info and feedback from our customers, and we try to use it well.
Blue Origin is a